So we are back after the international break. Some crazy games in there. Scotland and Ireland, Cape Verde. Lots of stories to talk about in the international scene. But club football is back this weekend, which means we're back to the weekend preview. So let's dive into it. So usually for the weekend preview, go through all the games at the weekend. We're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm looking ahead to Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool's next 5 games. I have thrown the European games in there because I do think it plays a part on how we think they're going to do in the run. They can get a total of 15 points between these next 5 games. And then we'll finish off as always with the usual weekend predictions. So I'll predict some scores that I think that's going to happen this weekend. We haven't done very well so far. I've been getting slagged off, but let's see if we can get any better this weekend. And remember, I chuck it on as a little £1, £2 coupon. So we might make a little bit of cash back as well. So Arsenal, we're going to start with them because I think they actually have the trickiest run out of everyone here. And I think these next 3 games that they've got coming up could be really interesting in terms of the title race and how it all shapes up for these other 2 guys. If we have a look here, we do have Spurs at home this weekend, followed by Bayern Munich in the week. Again, nothing to do with predicting the European games. It's just to show they're in there because they are going to play a part, and that one definitely plays a part. And then it's Chelsea is away. So if you take that block of 3 there, that is a tough run of games. There's 2 London derbies. There's a Champions League game, albeit at home at the Emirates, against the Bayern Munich team, who I said, under Vincent Kompany, have been struggling, but they've really started to find their stride a little bit this season, and they've added the likes of Luis Diaz to that team, who's given them real threat and attacking power upside along Harry Kane and everything. And I know it's the Bundesliga, but they're looking really good. Tough one. And then it's Chelsea away, who it's just always difficult going to Stamford Bridge, isn't it? It's always a real difficult one to do. And if you catch Chelsea at the moment when they're on it and Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez fancy it, it's a difficult one. And obviously the London element adds to it in there. So that is a real tricky first 3. They then have Brentford at home, Villa away, Club Brugge away, and they finish off with Wolves at home. So it's somewhat, you would say, eases up after those first 3. But look, Brentford at home, I'd expect Arsenal to go and beat them there, no problem. But they're going to come and they're going to be physical and they're going to throw themselves about. I know Arsenal like that. They're kind of the leaders of that. But we've seen against Sunderland when teams are maybe a bit more used to and attuned to doing that really week in, week out to get results and get points, it becomes difficult. Villa away, Villa seem to always kind of get something against Man City and even Arsenal. It seems to be a team that Liverpool seem to do well against, but for these 2 here, Villa seems the one they always struggle. And it's away. It just depends on what Aston Villa, again, we're hitting. We talked about in the video about managers and winning back-to-back titles and hitting teams in certain moments under certain managers play a real big part in this. Bruges away in the Champions League. It's Europe. You're going to be tired after this run of games. You're playing every 3 days, right? So that maybe be one where he'll look to potentially rotate in there. And then they finish off with Wolves at home, who at the moment really struggling down the bottom of the table. Obviously, managerial change and stuff like that could change things for them. By the time they hit there, they might have got a little bit of a run going. They might have a bit of buzz about them, but it is at home to Wolves, so I do expect Arsenal to go ahead and get something there. I think they'll beat Spurs at home, to be quite honest with you. I do actually think they'll beat Bayern Munich at home. I then think they'll draw with Chelsea away, beat Brentford at home, draw with Villa away. Bruges again doesn't really matter. We'll see how they are. And they beat Wolves, I think, at the end of that. So I'm going that they're going to get 11 out of the next 15 points here. Greg predicted he also thinks they're going to get 11 points. Exactly the same as me, Beans. Well done. Good man. Thinking on the same path. So there we go. Greg's going for 11 points for Arsenal as well in there. Let's move into City then, because I then think they have the second easiest fixture run here. It does start this weekend with Newcastle away. No easy game that. Newcastle will come, even though in and out of form a little bit, Newcastle, they're going to come, they're going to be physical, they're going to look to get at you, they're going to look to ruffle some feathers. And I know City beat Liverpool just before the break and it's a decent victory. I'm going to be honest, I didn't think City were like, wow, amazing. I thought Jeremy Doku was. But this Man City team isn't quite the full thing yet. Will that give them the belief that they think they are that group? We'll have to see, because Newcastle away, Saturday night at 5:30. Very interesting game there indeed. Looking forward to watching that one. So we'll see how they go. They've got Leverkusen at home in midweek in Europe. They then play Leeds at home, Fulham away, Sunderland at home, Real Madrid away, Crystal Palace away. So it's a bit of a trickier finish there for Manchester City as we get towards the end of it. But overall, I do think that's quite a little comfortable run of games for them in there. Newcastle away is going to set the tone for what the rest of this is here, right? I think they'll have absolutely no problem against Leeds at home. Fulham away has typically been a sticky one for City as well, so not easy. Sunderland at home, it depends on what Sunderland you're going to get from there. What's that? Another 3 games away. So yeah, okay, Sunderland are flying high. We've all been impressed with them. But will something happen in their form, injuries, suspensions, all those things? We don't know. So it depends on what Sunderland you hit. It might even be a game where he looks to rotate 1 or 2 in there against Sunderland, because they do have Madrid away the following game in the midweek before they have to travel to Crystal Palace away, and they've lost a little bit of their form, Palace, and that kind of feeling of invincibility at Selhurst Park, but it's still not an easy place to go there, Selhurst Park. It's a difficult place to go, so Palace away is a difficult one. If I have a little look at that there, Newcastle away could be a bit of a sticky one. And I think it's one where Newcastle could come out after the international break ready to go. I think Newcastle might beat Man City on Saturday. Leverkusen at home, I'm going to skip over that. I think they'll beat Leeds, no problem. At home, Fulham away. Oh, Fulham away. If they can go to Craven Cottage and they can beat Fulham, that's a good result for this City side, and I think they might have a little bit of that in them. You know what? I'm going to go that they beat Fulham. Sunderland at home, I think he'll rotate a little bit there, but I still think they're going to beat them. I think Sunderland might have lost a little bit of buzz by it comes to that. And then Palace away, I think they'll draw. So I've gone for 13 out of 15 points there for Manchester City. We'll get it on the board. 13 points. Absolutely horrible handwriting. Please don't judge me for it. I'm not the best at it. Greg, very, very similar to me. They've gone 13 out of the next 15 as well from Greg. 13 there. He thinks they'll beat Newcastle. He thinks they'll beat Leverkusen. He thinks they'll beat Leeds. They'll beat Fulham, they'll beat Sunderland, and then they're going to draw against Palace. So there you go. It's literally exactly the same as me. Liverpool. Now, listen, some people might have said, why are Liverpool in this conversation? They're currently sitting in 8th place and whatever. But I think when a team has just been champions, and I would say this even if it was Manchester United in there, when a team's just been champions, they're not out of it till they're out of it, right? And I think that if Arsenal didn't have this tricky 3 here to start with and have to deal with that Bayern Munich game in the middle, right, then I would say Liverpool don't have a chance. However, with this being their fixtures, and we're about to go through Liverpool's and look at theirs, there's a slight chance the gap might get close enough that they're still in the hunt come that Boxing Day kind of period, right? They have Nottingham Forest at home, then PSV at home in the week, West Ham away, Sunderland home, Leeds away, Inter away, and Brighton at home to finish off this run. The only worrying thing in there for Liverpool for me is that they have struggled against teams that are physical, want to go direct, want to play that game against you. And it's been quite baffling how easily they've been beaten by those teams. And I would say Nottingham Forest are going to do that in the league. West Ham can do that in the league. Sunderland can do that in the league. And Leeds can do that in the league. Brighton are going to stick to their principles and play. They're going to be energetic. They're going to have possession. They're going to want to try and beat you that way. So that game probably does suit Liverpool. So on paper, you look at the names and you go, that's, a really good run, but the styles, if Liverpool can't handle it and can't find a way to deal with these, then they are really going to struggle in this run of fixtures. Forest at home, I think coming back, if there's nothing more than a win in that game, then there's a little bit of trouble. You're fighting in there. I think you're getting into the mix of fighting in there for that 4th, 5th spot, and that's not a place that you want to be. But I'm going to back them. I think they will beat Forest at home. I think he'll then go to PSV. He might be able to try something a little bit different in the PSV game. I think they'll then go there and do that. It allows him to rest a couple of players for West Ham away. It is a Nuno side. That is going to be a dogged game. I don't like going to West Ham. But again, I can see us, if beating Forest, and this is what I'm going off of, and if beating PSV and the run starts to come together, that City one's just a little bit of a mad one. You can go to the Etihad and you can lose there. I know it was a poor performance, but, it happens. I then think they can beat West Ham. I then think they can beat Sunderland at home. Then can beat Leeds away. And then Brighton at home. So there's a lot. So if I just go, if I properly go through it, I think they'll beat Forest. I think they'll beat West Ham. I think they'll beat Sunderland. I think they'll draw to Leeds. And I think they'll beat Brighton because Brighton's style will suit them. So what's that for Liverpool? We're going 3, 6, 9, 10, and 3 is 13 again out of 15. So they're going to drop 2 points. Greg has predicted a full house for Liverpool on this one. He thinks they beat Forest, beat West Ham, beat Sunderland, beat Leeds, and beat Brighton. And he made a very good point in the text group saying that, look, if Liverpool don't come out of that with 15 points, then he thinks a lot's gone wrong and they're in a lot of trouble. And I can see why he thinks that. As I said that from the beginning, you can see Liverpool winning all those games if it clicks and they get it right. Maybe it's not going to happen, but the Beans has gone for 15 points for Liverpool. So that does it points-wise. We're saying Arsenal are getting 11, Man City are getting 13. I've gone for Liverpool 13. Greg's gone for Liverpool 15. Where are we going to meet there? Because we can't really land on 14, can we? We'll go with Greg's 15. So let's have a little look at what the league table would look like if this is the case for the points that they get. So that's what we're leaving with. Arsenal finish on 37 after this run. City are on 35 and Liverpool on 33. And if that's the case, we've got a hell of a title race coming into that New Year period. So if we have a look across the rest of the league in terms of England and Scotland, there's not a ton more exciting games going on than what the games are on telly this weekend that are super exciting. And really the final intriguing game of the week in terms of the Premier League is Manchester United against Everton on Monday Night Football, which should be a little bit of a decent one. Just two clubs with a big history, so we'll see how that one plays out. Across Scotland, it's much in the same. There's not like a ton of kind of big games across the top of the league table anyway. St Mirren and Celtic is the Saturday night game at 8 o'clock on telly on Sky TV. Interesting one there from Scotland, making that little move in the winter break. And then Sunday, I guess it's probably the best pick of the bunch. 3 o'clock is Aberdeen against Hearts. And it's a big one for Hearts to see if they can continue on this title challenge and prove to everybody that they are the real deal and that they can challenge Celtic and potentially Rangers, who are on a bit of a run of form domestically. All right, it's time for the weekend predictions, so let's dive straight into it. All right, so this week for the predictions, I'm going to go with Liverpool against Forest. I think Liverpool might go behind. There might be a bit of sticky moment, but I think Liverpool are going to come out of that game with a 2-1 win. If we move into 5:30 on Saturday, we've got Newcastle and Man City. I do think Newcastle will beat them, as said earlier on in the video, and I think it will be 2-1 to Newcastle. Moving into Sunday for the London Derby, Arsenal and Spurs. I don't think Arsenal are even going to concede there. I know they've lost Gabriel, but Mascara's a really, really good backup option that they have. They've added squad depth well. I think Arsenal are going to beat Spurs 2-0. Finally, finishing off on Sunday in Scotland is Aberdeen and Hearts. I've got a feeling Hearts are going to draw that one 1-1, and I think they're going to get a lot of pressure heaped on them in terms of being the title challengers, and can they keep this up and really feel what it's like to be in a title race against a team and a club that's done it time and time again. To wrap it up, it's Liverpool 2, Nottingham Forest 1, Newcastle 2, Man City 1, Arsenal 2, Spurs 0, and Aberdeen 1, Hearts 1. Drop your predictions in the comments. Let me know where you think I've gone massively wrong, where you agree, some other debates, maybe some other games you want to predict in there. It'd be good to get a little bit of interaction going on this with you guys. So, as always, like and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day, have a good weekend, and until the next one, peace.